I think a lot of people assume that their ideal client for their business is themselves. Talking to other photographers, most of the time their ideal client is not who they are. Hey, photo BFFs, and welcome back to The Edit. I am Amanda from Seattle.
And I'm Whitney from Minneapolis.
And today we are diving into a topic that is a game changer for photographers, which is finding your ideal client.
This is one of those things that can really make your business more enjoyable, less stressful, and it helps you get to work with people who get you, value you, and you like to work with them. And
Yep.
all of the good things. It makes your life so much better as a photographer.
Yes, totally. And before we jump in, I just want to totally keep it real and tell you that finding your ideal client does not happen overnight. But we're going to give you all the tips to make it as smooth as possible.
We're going to start with the basics. Amanda, how would you define an ideal client?
Okay, so an ideal client is someone whose needs, whose style, and whose personality align with what you love to do as a photographer. So they're the clients who light you up and make you so excited to grab your camera and work with them.
Yep. They're also the people who value your work and they're happy to pay for it.
Yes.
They're not trying to get deals from you.
100%.
And when you get to work with them, it feels less like a job and more like a collaboration.
Yes, which it is amazing when you can have that. So when you're working with your ideal client, you are more likely to create your best work, which to me is like, why would you not want to work with your ideal client?
Yep.
To be able to create your best work and really enjoy it is amazing. And what I also love is that they're the ones who refer you to their friends. And typically people have friends that are similar to themselves. And so you're just gaining more people like them in your photo business life.
Yep. Now, the big question is, how do you find out who your ideal client is? And it starts with reflecting on who you are and who you're wanting to work with.
Yep. You need to ask yourself some questions like, what types of photography do I love doing? Maybe not what I'm currently doing, because that might not be the case, but it's what you love doing. Is it working with families? Is it working with high school seniors? Is it doing branding for small businesses? What makes you feel the most creative and fulfilled?
And if you've already worked with clients, think about who your favorites were. Why did you enjoy working with them? What was their personality, their vision, or were they just really easy to work with? And I will say that is the route I took to figure out my ideal client, because I actually didn't really know what an ideal client was when I started off. I just thought, man, I like these people. I want to figure out how I'm going to get to work with more people like this.
Yeah, exactly. Like when I was coming up with the idea for this episode and thinking of ideal clients, I mean, I feel really lucky. I have like 2 or 3 clients that started off with me at the beginning of my business, and they were the people that just made me so excited to work with them. They were up for whatever ideas I had. They were up for trying new things. They were just all in and on board, and it felt so awesome. Like it just felt so good to be around them. So if you're like just starting out, it's okay to try a few different things before settling on like the one, because you might be surprised what you're drawn to.
So now once you have an idea of who your ideal client is, the type of photography, what you're looking for, you want to create an avatar. So you'll hear in marketing world avatars, which is like the movie in a way. It is like when you pick your profile picture from a cartoon or something like that. So what it is a detailed profile of your dream client. You want to think about their age, their lifestyle, the values that are important to them, and even some of the things that they struggle with.
Yeah, totally. I found when I did the ideal client exercise and I was told to write down all of these things, I felt like that's when I got a real idea of who it was. So yeah, writing it down really I found helpful. And if you're like a family photographer like me, maybe your ideal client is like, this is my ideal client, is a mom that's in her 30s who really values capturing the memories from her family, but she's worried about her kids sitting still and maybe acting out and really being a little bit nervous about that. So with that insight, you can use that to connect with that person in your marketing. Going back to tweaking some things with your ideal client, before I became a parent, thought my ideal client was a certain way, but then I had kids and I realized what things I found difficult about having my own family photographed. And so I went back and kind of changed my ideal client because I knew a little bit better what maybe their struggles were and what they were having a hard time doing. So you can go back and change this too. This evolves with your business, I find, and with your lifestyle and what you want as a person and with your family.
Now you know who your ideal client is. The big question is, how and where do you find them?
Yes.
There's not a garden to go pick them. Pick your ideal client.
Yeah. So this is where you meet them where they are. You want to make it as easy as possible for them to find you. So if you're doing branding photography, you might find clients on LinkedIn or at networking events that you maybe are going to anyway.
Yeah. And if you're a family photographer, a lot of times this is where local Facebook groups can be really important, or community events can be a really great place to connect.
Yeah. We had an episode about your elevator pitch, which I have been working on trying to find like my perfect elevator pitch because I have noticed that when I'm at the school pickup line for my kids, you can either drive up or you can walk, and I typically walk, and I talk to a lot of other parents, and the question comes up a lot of, oh, well, what do you do? Especially if it's somebody that I don't know all that well, but our kids are in a class together. So I've been working on practicing my elevator pitch to those families that I meet. And so this thing, they're not having to come and try to find me. I am just meeting them where they are and talking about what I do. And so I think that's a really great way to connect with people, and especially because then you're in your community. Again, this really would applied for this specifically family photography or children, or even, you've got high school seniors that, so it depends on where you are and what you want to be photographing. So yes,
absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, and referrals are really big too. So partnering with other businesses like hair salons or like baby boutiques too, those can really help you reach more of your ideal clients.
And that makes me think about if you're, let's say, doing weddings, finding a wedding dress shop to connect with. And sometimes even getting to know the people that work at, let's say, the wedding dress shop. So when someone's coming looking for the wedding dress and they know you and maybe you've done some photos for them, they can recommend you.
Yep.
And of course, it's going to be different what type of wedding dress shop you decide to connect with, especially if you're in a bigger city.
Yeah.
So for me, I like the brides that want to be a little quirky, but my ideal client, they weren't me because they weren't a starving artist, which was like how I saw myself when I first started wedding photography. And as much as I love those clients, they could not usually, not always, but could not usually afford me. But I found the people I really loved to work with and that really appreciated what I did and wanted my creativity were people that sometimes had professions totally different than mine.
Yeah.
Were lawyers or worked in finance or something. I even remember this great couple that were scientists and actually worked in science labs.
Yeah.
We did an engagement shoot where they had their beakers.
Oh my gosh.
It was so cute.
So fun.
But it was so fun because it wasn't that creativity. They wanted mine and they appreciated mine.
Yeah.
And I love that they trusted me with that.
I think that's so awesome. And I think you brought up a really good point in that I think a lot of people assume that their ideal client for their business is themselves. But most of the time, I would honestly say most of the time, talking to other photographers, most of the time their ideal client is not who they are.
No.
Yeah. So I think that that's really important when you are trying to nail and get an idea for who your ideal client is to not necessarily look at yourself, because I think that can kind of skew our perspectives.
It can, absolutely. And you can get into the habit of saying, I'm pricing this too high because I couldn't afford it.
Yeah.
And you
Yep.
want to start with your ideal client thinking, well, can my ideal client afford this? And you don't want people to be booking you that are constantly thinking about if they can afford
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Does that make
Yeah.
sense?
100% it does. I mean,
Yes.
we also need to make a living and make money off of what we do. Most of us would not be doing this for free.
No.
I mean, really, this is what
As
our
much as
jobs
we would
are.
love to.
I know. I mean, it's our job. I have a mortgage. I have children and activities. I love to travel. I need to fund all of those things. And people should not be ashamed that they need to make money and how much they need to make in order to pay for all of those things. People that go work at the big tech companies are not like, oh, I feel bad that I'm taking money from my boss. No, they're like, I deserve this money that I'm working for and that I'm making. So, having that confidence, and also, again, when you're choosing your ideal client, that is who you want. You want somebody that's going to not balk at your prices. You're going to want somebody that says, oh, I see the worth in this. You provide value. I want this.
Exactly. Let's talk about how to actually attract your ideal client.
Yeah.
One of the best ways is by showing them what you do best.
Yeah. So your portfolio, at least for us photographers, that's what it would be. It should highlight the kind of work that you want to book. So if you want to photograph families, you want to have that in your portfolio. You want to have like happy, natural family poses. You want to find the images that you really love, the images that you loved creating. Have that in your portfolio because that's what you want to be creating. It's what you love anyway. That's what you want people to see, that when they look at it, they think, oh, that's what I want. I want that image. So, and if it's also branding, you want to focus on like polished and professional images. Like if you are doing headshots, maybe for like corporate, I'm thinking specifically, I have a friend who does work for a law firm and she does all of those corporate photos. And it's a very different portfolio that she has. Versus somebody else that wants to attract maybe a small boutique branding businesses.
That's a great contrast of how they can look so different. And you don't have to put every photo you take in your portfolio. You don't have to, I photographed this headshot, and you want to actually be doing more lifestyle branding photos. You don't have to share that headshot.
Yeah. You want to share the work that you loved creating.
And your messaging is just as important as the photos. They need to really speak to their needs and pain points.
Yeah.
For example, if your ideal client is a small business owner, you might say, I help entrepreneurs create visuals that tell their brand story.
Yeah. And don't forget to be consistent with your branding. Everything from like your website to Instagram to your TikTok, whatever it is that you are doing for being out there for marketing, it should reflect the kind of clients that you want to attract.
Here is the part that can feel tricky with all of this. It's setting boundaries.
Yes. Something
so Amanda, have you ever had to say no to a client because they weren't the right fit?
100%. And it's hard. There have been a couple of clients who right away I knew from an email that I got from them that it wasn't going to be a good fit. Somebody I talked to on the phone for, they called me up, they saw my images. I talked to them on the phone. They seemed really great. And then I looked into their business and what they did, and I knew that it wasn't going to work.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's hard. It's still hard to tell somebody no. But when you say no to the wrong clients, that's what makes space for all the right ideal clients for you. So setting clear expectations with things like your consultations, your contracts, especially your pricing. I feel like that one is probably one of the most important ones. That really helps ensure that everybody is on the same page.
Yes, I agree. And all of this is about creating a business that works for you.
Yeah.
Not the other way around. Because we got into business to work for ourselves.
Yeah.
Not follow a boss. So you don't want clients that are going to act like a boss.
Yeah. Yep.
You're working for yourself.
You are working
what
for yourself.
You want to do.
Exactly. And for everybody that's starting out, you got to remember that it's okay not to have all the answers right away. I certainly did not. And my ideal client started off very different when I first started versus what it is now. It is a process, and it is totally normal to evolve as you as a person and you, your business, evolve as well.
So you want to focus on building experience, experimenting with different types of photography, especially as you're just starting to make money.
Yeah.
And pay attention to what feels right. Trust yourself. Find the things that just bring you joy. If you find yourself dreading a certain type of shoot, avoid it. You don't have to do it.
Yep. That is why I stopped photographing weddings. I just had a sick feeling in my stomach every time. And I knew that this was not where I was excited to be using my photography. Yeah. So pivoting is totally okay. And I think it's really natural in many businesses. Yeah. Okay. So to wrap this all up, let's have some key takeaways here. So I think number one, know who you're best equipped to serve. Like, depending on what it is that you want to be photographing, really finding who your person is, what their values are. I think that the more you know about your ideal client, the better you're going to be able to make your marketing and create images that will attract those people. You need to tailor your messaging to attract them. I think that one's like number two. And then number three is do not be afraid to set boundaries. Or even if you're afraid, do it anyway.
Yes. You can say no.
Yes. Ambria's episode. Anybody that hasn't watched Ambria's episode, she's this amazing maternity and pregnancy and newborn photographer in DC. And we had the most wonderful interview with her. And she very much talked about different ways that you can say no in ways that communicated what you needed for you and your business.
Yep. I love that because I immediately thought of her.
Did you? Yeah. I think about anytime I say no, sentence. I think of her too.
Yes.
So yay. Shout out to Ambria there.
Awesome. So remember that finding your ideal client, it's going to take time. But once you do, it's going to make your business so much more fun and fulfilling. Yeah. And we would love to hear your thoughts, listeners. Who is your ideal client? You can share with us over on Instagram who it is, or on YouTube. You can leave a comment for us. And for our Spotify listeners, I'm going to throw this out there again. Make sure to follow us. And if you would give us a rating, we would love it. It helps us to reach more photographers like you. And as always, thanks for tuning in, Photo BFFs. We appreciate you being here. Yeah. Bye. Bye. Okay, Photo BFFs, if you have not subscribed, do that right now so you never miss a new episode. You can also find us at theeditweekly.com, where we have free resources and downloads for you to help grow your photo business.